Cool. Thanks, for doing this morning. I know this was 8 o'clock. Oh,
I think it is. Yes, it's 8 o'clock. I've been up for 3 hours. I don't know what
wow.
time.
And I don't want to hold
It's
you
like
up.
lunchtime. No,
I don't want to
totally
hold you
fine.
up too much too. You're in San Diego now or La Jolla?
I am. I'm in Mission Beach, which is right outside of San Diego.
I
And
love it.
then Monday I'm heading to La Jolla. It's beautiful.
And I told you my La Jolla story, right? Like first time I went there, I was younger, right? Like I've never traveled anywhere. I'm like, I'm going to La Jolla. And they're like, what? Like, I don't know how to pronounce, like, I don't know how to, La Jolla.
Well, okay. So I'm just going to throw myself under the bus. You told me that yesterday, and then I'm on the plane, and I say, "Yeah, I'm going to La Jolla," because I thought I was, I thought I was smart. Like, and he's like, "It's La Jolla," and I'm like, "Oh,
Well, it's
I
not
don't know
spelled
how to
that way.
pronounce it either." And it means the jewel. Is that how it's translated? Is that the concept?
Oh,
I think it means the jewel because it's just beautiful, just beautiful. So
it's
I'm
gorgeous.
working. I'm pretending I'm in Eastern time, and by about 1 or 2 Pacific, I'm closing shop, and I'm going to go explore and find some fun places to
Oh,
visit
that's
and
cool.
shop and whatever. And I've got a whole weekend planned, so it's all good. I'm
Enjoy,
always happy to get on the phone with you.
enjoy. Yeah. So, I was just, I'm doing an email, I'm doing a blog post, and I'm thinking, God, I want to get some opinions from some experts. I'm quoting the
Mm-hmm.
blog, and just kind of, two minds are better than one, or two heads are better than one. So
Mm-hmm.
here's the deal, right? Here's the concept, Jen. And I started thinking about this because I got into the New Year's resolution thing like I do every year. I'm like, I'm going to get in shape. So what I did is I started researching exercises I was going to do. Okay, do cardio? Do I do, the doctor says I need to lift weights and stuff. And I got to research this. So I'm going on all these sites and I got all this information and I'm culling all this information together. And the bottom line is after weeks of doing this, I get caught up in trying to find some easy way or some secret. And the truth is, I'm lazy, right? So I'm looking for an easy way. I'm overthinking it, really overthinking it, and I just go down this rabbit hole, and then I don't do anything, right? And the bottom line
Mm-hmm.
is like, just do it, right? I should have just done
Mm-hmm.
it. What I should have done is I should have just gone outside and walked for a half an hour and maybe listened to a podcast on fitness
Mm-hmm.
if I want more information, and I would have accomplished more in the probably since we're almost at the end of January. This was starting at the end of December. I'm starting to research this, so it's almost a month wasted, right? And I've done
Right.
nothing.
And it's
So
so easy to get into that research mode. And
yeah,
I mean, like the reality is, we like to say, I just don't know how to, whatever. I don't know how to exercise. I don't know how to lose weight. My big thing is, I don't know how to get up early. Well, the reality is I do. You know how you get up early? You set an alarm and you put it across the room, or you put it, in the next room, and you set the volume up really loud. And then when that alarm rings, there's not going to be a whole lot of discipline involved for you to get out of bed and go turn off the alarm. Now you're somewhat awake and you won't go back to bed. Now, I know that, but I'm still not getting up early. I should still get up at 5 o'clock every morning and get things done before the kids get up, but I don't do it. And so it's less I don't know how to do it, and more the why behind it isn't strong enough, or sometimes it's the self-doubt that is the thing I'm going to do. Like, is walking around the block 3 times, is that going to give me the results I need? So it's less, I don't know what to do, and more, I don't know why I'm doing it, and I don't really know if it's going to work. So
right.
then that's when it's important to lean on experts. Like, okay, if the expert says it's going to work, let's just trust the expert and jump in and have consistency. So.
Right. Now my thinking too is that, and where I was going with this is because of course everything becomes for me is it comes back to sales and marketing, because
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff. And I always think
Yep.
about whatever I'm doing. I think, well, how does this relate to sales and marketing? And the what popped in my head was prospecting. Like,
Yeah.
we all do. I think everybody overthinks it, right? Like, first of all, with prospecting, everybody is me included, right? Like nobody likes to pick up the phone and cold call. Nobody. I don't care who you are. I've never met anybody who loves doing that. So what we do is we find excuses not to do it. We try to research what's the shiny object or some new strategy. And the trick is, like what I tell people to do, and I've done this myself, is like when I try and get out of my own way, right? And go and and I'm thinking not as the sales and marketing director of audit, because that's a different animal. I'm thinking what I would do as an MSP, because I ran a business like an MSP and I've done this. I go and I make a list real quick of 10 to 20 people who are top of mind to me, who maybe they're in my network. They were old prospect, somebody that I hit last year, a former client, just somebody. And I do it by, the hot ones first. Who are the people who, if I pick up the phone and call them, aren't going to hang up on me? And then I just pick up the phone and call them, right? Like, and I'll say something like, hey, this is Mike from, this MSP company, insert your business name here, right? We'd connected in the past and just wanted to see if, if I can be a referral source to you. And then just see what they say, right? I mean, who doesn't like referrals, right? There's no pressure there. Right. So, what I want to, and the big reason I want to talk to you is because, number one, I want to make sure I'm not, I want you to fight me a little bit, right? Push back on that if you think I'm wrong. The other thing is, maybe we can kind of brainstorm some ideas for people to get out of their own way and what's some strategy, especially because with cybersecurity, I mean, if I was an MSP right now, I would be calling up everybody. I would be like, listen, I'm hosting an event where I'm even if I don't have an event plan, I'd call them up, and I've done this, so I know it works. Hey, I'm doing an event on cybersecurity, and I'm not lying. Like I owned a martial arts school. I used to call people and I would say, hey, I'm doing a self-defense training for kids. I wanted to see if you guys were free on this date or this date. Which of those works best for you? And I'd get like 10 people that would go, yeah, we're down for it. And then I would just set it up, I'd find a place. Like I'm very much about, let's throw some spaghetti at the wall and kind of momentum, so that's where I was looking at.
Yeah, I've got quite a few thoughts. I feel like we could probably be on the phone for an hour and then nobody would watch the video. So the one thing, I'm with you. Most of us hate cold calling. We hate prospecting. I was actually talking to my mindset coach about this earlier this week or last week. It's just not something I enjoy. Like I think in my little idyllic universe, I think, the web forms are going to get filled out and the people that I talk to at trade shows are just going to magically remember me and think of me and wake up and need my services and send me an email and the cash register says cha-ching and I don't have to put any effort in. And obviously that's kind of a fairy tale universe, but it's super easy to fall into the passive way of thinking. And I just said, I'm busy. I've got 8 million other things to do. It's tough to find the time for prospecting. I don't like it. And she said, well, hold on. If you don't like it, it's going to be very hard for you to do it because now you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. She said, but why don't we pivot that a little bit? Instead of you saying, I need to spend an hour prospecting, why don't you just change the language? I need to spend an hour building relationships. Because the reality is for any MSP, you draw the proverbial 10-mile circle around your office. Like logically, that there are at least 5 or 10 companies in that circle who need your help for either managed services or managed security. And so logically, there are people out there that need your help and you're good at it. So now you're not prospecting. You're not going out to the cold river and shaking the pan and, once every 6 months you might shake out a little tiny gold nugget and, once in a lifetime you get the really big one that you can put on your mantle. Like prospecting is, just that word, it conjures up this image of hard work for all of us. And I think that's part of why we don't like it, because prospecting is hard work. And shifting the language isn't going to make it easy necessarily, but sometimes just changing the language from something that is inherently poisonous and changing it to something that's a little more healthy could be good. So let's kind of play with that. Like what if I'm saying, okay, I have a duty, I have a responsibility to the small and medium-sized business owners in my area, or I have a, maybe you're in a niche, so you have a duty and responsibility to the financial services providers in your area, and you're not prospecting anymore, you're building relationships, which is what's interesting about your strategy about, I'm planning to hold an event on how financial services firms can stay safe from today's cyber criminals. And I'm looking at, a Thursday in March or a Thursday in April. Okay, bad example for financial services. They're not going to come in April. They're probably not going to come in March. But the strategy is still solid. I mean, you'll have to tweak it if you're in financial services. But now you're not out there with a pickaxe and breaking your back prospecting. You're simply building relationships, and just pivoting that is going to help you start to think in terms of strategic partnerships, or like you said, digging back into your database and saying, who did I have some solid conversations with and they ghosted me, or we were going, let's talk about that over coffee next month, and the next month never happened. Shifting that it's very, very powerful. So I would start there with, I'm not prospecting, I'm building relationships. So that's just a shift that I've been making over the last couple of weeks, and it's been very powerful.
Yeah, that's an extraordinary way to look at it, because and it opens up a whole world of things, right? Because when you think about it, that's when I have always stop myself from prospecting, right? When I think I'm going to call somebody up and try and get them to go do something that is down here in the funnel, right? Like this is, if this is the tiptoeing into knowing us, right? And this is buying our stuff, like I need to focus over here and let them move down, right? And what I mean by that is for if somebody else watches this, if we share this video, inviting somebody to an event, just saying, listen, we got some people in common. I like the LinkedIn thing that people ignore. If you did that on the phone, I bet you'd have more power, right? Like if I called you up because I saw you on LinkedIn, I researched you, and I realized we know like 10 people who are the same. Your business is like my business. We can kind of refer people back and forth, calling up with almost like a networking, like a BNI philosophy of, hey, would you be interested in just chatting about how we can maybe build our networks? Like, do you go to the chamber? Are you active in any events or whatever? Just let's meet for coffee and just see if I can refer some business to you. There's
it's
plenty
called social. Yeah. I mean, it's called social media for a reason. Like we all want to build relationships. We all crave community. And yet with social media, just with social media creation, what we're finding is that there is less and less community, less and less connection. And so if you can become that person to make a connection, I mean, like let's get crazy. I haven't thought this out, but if I was an MSP, I hear two extremes, and I believe they're both legit. I hear I've got the best BNI network in the galaxy, and there are some really good ones out there for service-related companies. Right. But then I also hear, my chamber is garbage, my BNI group is garbage, and I know that is also legit. It's very dependent on who the chamber is catering to. If you've got all, Mary Kay people in your chamber of commerce, that's not who an MSP needs to sell to. But what if let me back up. So you can't be the only service-related organization in your geography that has that same problem, that's saying right. The chamber's garbage and the BNI groups are garbage and I've got a great service, but I can't find the leads. Well, we all know there's plenty of business out there, unless, you're living in, I don't know, Podunk, USA. I'm not going to name a city because then I'll insult someone. But certainly there are rural places where the closest small business to you is 47 miles away. But that's not the norm. And so if you do have a decent concentration of businesses and you have a problem, you're not the only one that has the problem. So what if you become the problem solver? What if you reach out to 5 or 10 like-minded, non-competitive business owners, and your goal isn't, I'm going to refer to you and you're going to refer to me, because let's face it, how many times are you talking to a client and they need a room painted, and you can hand them to the painting contractor. Like, it's just, that's a broken model. But what if you just create relationships and you meet weekly or every other week to talk through business challenges and make connections, and you're going into it not to get something, but to give something, and that will pay dividends.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I know we kind of chased that rabbit a little bit, so thanks for putting up with me.
No, that's great. I think that's important I think really the tactics, I think people get hung up, and that's kind of where I was going with this blog post, and this is people can get really hung up on the tactics, and we need to get away from that a bit and just pick up the phone, dial a number, call somebody and say, hi. Hey, I came across your card on my desk, man. I was like, just thought I'd give you a call and make sure that we stay in touch. How's business for you? And I'll give you a good example that happened actually yesterday. It's with Frank. I got an email, and I don't want to name names. Somebody that he uses, that when I come to headquarters, I've been there, and they got hacked. So I got a email from this company that said my invoice is ready, and I need to, it was very obvious it was a hack, right? So I forwarded the email to Frank, and I said, hey, I bet you'll get a call from these guys soon, because he keeps in touch with them. And he did. Same day, he texted me a screenshot of the email. They said, hey, Frank, I think it's time for us to talk. This is somebody he had been chasing for years. And he's done some stuff for them, but they've really never hired him. And now they're like ready to hire him because they had an issue happen in their business that because Frank is always in front of them. He's got reasons to not just prospecting them, not just picking up the phone and calling, but doing some mailings, staying in touch with the email newsletter. All of those touches made sure that he was top of mind, and he's going to get some business from it next week.
It's interesting that you talk about tactics, and that there's I'm sure there are new strategies, there's new tactics out there, but sometimes just the tried and true is brilliant, like smiling and dialing and picking up the phone. And again, people will say, well, that's hard. Well, which part of it is hard? I mean, is it doing the database search and pulling up the spreadsheet? Well, no, that's not hard. Was it hard to pick up the receiver and pull it up and we probably don't even use receivers anymore, right? We all have hands-free. So that's not difficult. It's not difficult to push 10, we're not even dialing anymore, right? We're pushing 10 numbers and then hitting talk. None of that is hard. It's hard in our head because maybe we don't have a script or we don't know what to say. So, okay, great. Now we've diagnosed what's hard. Let's fix the hard and then let's dial. It's interesting. I'm like you. Like, I hear all these different illustrations and I automatically apply them to marketing and sales. And so I was just at the Ovid conference this week. I think it was this week. Say it's Friday. And I don't even remember which speaker it was, but he was talking about there was a study done with 200 people. They split the 200 people into two groups, so 100 here, 100 here. And the first group was told, you're unhealthy. You need to run, I think it was 3 miles a day, 3 days a week. Let's go with that. It may have been a mile, but whatever. You need to run X amount of X distance 3 times a week. And you need to do that because you're unhealthy and you're going to die. You're going to leave your kids behind, whatever. They go to the other group. They give exactly the same script, but they say, instead of I want you to run 3 days a week, they're like, do you watch TV? Well, they're all like, yes. And they're like, okay, when you watch TV, I'd like you to stand up. I'm like, okay. And so they fast forwarded a few weeks or a month, and they found out that on the one hand, 50% of the people had fallen off the wagon, and on the other hand, 100% of their test group was standing up during TV. And they're like, okay, now what I want you to do, they continue to tell these people, I want you to run 3 times a week. They told the other group, I want you to walk in place while you're watching TV. They're like, okay, we can do this. So again, most, more of these people fell off, and I don't have the numbers. That's not the point, though. More of these people fell off, and the majority of these people stayed on. Well, then the third step was keep doing what you're doing, guys. 3 times a week, I want you to run. And for these guys, I want you just to walk in place. But when there's a commercial, I want you to do calisthenics. I want you to, jumping jacks or whatever. They're like, oh, okay, that's easy. I'm already standing up. I may as well do whatever. And so there's some habit stacking there. But what they found is, I want to say it was 92% of the people, 98 of the people did that. And over here, it was less than 50%. And so what that said to me is, let's not say, I'm going to dial 200 names every day for the rest of my life. Why don't we instead say, I'm going to do 5 a day, or maybe I'm going to do 25 a week, because maybe doing it every day and finding 30 minutes a day isn't realistic, but finding an hour a week might be. And what if you did that? Because right now you're at 0. You're at 0 reach outs, on the phone. And okay, all of a sudden, if you're at 25 a week, that's 100 a month. That's 1,200 a year versus 0. Like, you can't tell me something won't happen. And I would argue that there's almost no MSP that is so busy that they couldn't find the time to do that. Because if they're too busy to do that, how are they going to service a new client coming on? Because a new client is going to take more than, 30 minutes a day.
Sure.
So just some different ways of thinking about, prospecting. It's not this big, ginormous project, but instead it's, just something you can do a little bit of every day or a little bit of every week. And then you get rid of the peaks and valleys as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and it's really, yeah, exactly. So I think we're on the same page. It's really about making it simple. Get out of our own way, just do it. And to a certain extent, I mean, we have to realize, you have to get over that fear of somebody's going to get mad at you for calling. It's just the way it is. And, I still get that. I guess it's the same thing actors probably go through, right? Like, you're an actor, I've heard veteran actors say they still get stage fright. You're going to get that stage fright when you pick up the phone, but you're not going to get executed. You're not going to get arrested. You're just going to, and if somebody hangs up on you, you got a good story to tell.
Yep. Yeah. And sometimes just asking that question, like, what's the worst that can happen? And I'm a big journaler, so I will journal like, okay, let's say that I give the best script ever, and I do everything in my power to deliver well, and I've done research, maybe I've got notes on our previous conversations, and they do scream at me, and they swear at me, and they hang up. Like, I'm not sure it's going to get a whole lot worse than that. Okay, now what? Okay, maybe I have to stand up and shake it off, or maybe I just go, oh, okay, I got that one out of the way. The rest of these are going to be great, because it is going to be it's not going to be the norm. It'll be the rare occasion. So
yeah, I learned an important lesson running the martial arts school. This is going back a lot of years, because I think another reason why people don't want to do it, right? They're afraid of the rejection. They're afraid of but what happens? There's another part of it, right? So if we continue forward, and you say, well, is that all if you asked them, is that all you're worried about? They might say, well, I'm worried that person's now who hung up on me is going to go tell 5 people what a jerk I am for calling them. And I'm like, if you think about it logically, like, what are the people they're talking to going to think about them and you? So, and the story was, we ran these parties for kids. That's how we generated basically it's the cybersecurity talk for martial arts schools, right? Let's bring you in, have a little party where the parents can get a night out, and we're watching the kids. And then when you come back, you're going to see your kids standing at attention with discipline, and you're going to go, oh my God, I want to come to this school more often, and you'll want to continue. So it was a great tool. And I was talking to a father and a mother who were watching, they're watching, and I'm the thing's wrapping up, and the dad goes, we wanted to come here, but our neighbor just hates you guys. And I said, oh really? Who's your neighbor? And they told me who the neighbor was, and yeah, we had an incident with the neighbor because we had folks would sign up for a year, and we didn't, she broke her contract, and we were giving her, we were trying to retain her, and she was mad at us. I mean, eventually we let her out of it, but she just badmouthed us. And it was fun to listen to the conversation unfold, because long story short, the father goes to the wife, she is a little wacky though about the neighbor. She complains about everything. And the parents signed up the kid, the family was with us for years. And it just goes to show that just because somebody's bad mouthing you doesn't mean somebody's going to not like you because of it. They may think the person who's bad mouthing you is an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and even, I mean, let's go that. Let's say that you talk to the prospect screams at you, hangs up, swears at you, and then goes and badmouths you to 5 other companies. Okay, that's now 6 companies in your area that don't want to do business with you. There's so many more than 6 companies in your area. So, that concern, it's number one, there's a fair element of lack of logic there. We're making decisions based on emotion, which is not what we want to do as business owners. And so let's think about it logically. But then, okay, what happens if 6 people now don't want to do business with me? Is that the end of the world? Does that mean your business is going to close? No, it's fabulous. So you just move on. So it's a scarcity mentality a bit as well. If you're worried about what that one person or those 6 people are going to think. And at the ALVA conference, Rob Ray from Datto shared a stat that only 30% of SMBs are currently working with a managed service provider. I mean,
that's crazy.
70. I mean, the pastures are green. So the business is out there. It doesn't mean those 70% are actively looking for you, but some percentage of those 70% would take a phone call from you and at least be interested in a security audit. Because I know we started talking about cybersecurity, a security audit, or are their credentials for sale on the dark web? And, have they had a hack? Could you come in and do some employee education? Like, there's a lot of different ways with cybersecurity to get your foot in the door and then start that business level conversation. So, the fields are green. There's a lot of opportunity out there. But again, kind of going full circle, that little fairy tale world we all would love to live in, people are not going to pound down your door if you're not getting out there and making yourself known and doing the prospecting or the relationship building, as I think we should start to call it. Right.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story for that. It just happened this morning. That just cybersecurity. I mean, this is a gold rush opportunity for MSPs. Like, if you're not in front of your clients right now, they want to hear from you right now. And I remember when I ran my marketing agency, there were points where digital marketing I started digital marketing before there were companies doing anything. Like, I was doing digital marketing in early 2000s, and there were only a few of us around. And I was coming into social media as it was happening in real time. Like, I was like telling people, you should get on Facebook, man. This is like crazy. And people were like, what's Facebook? So in 2010, people were like, I was selling at that point. I was trying to get people to sign up for search engine optimization, and people were like changing the subject on me. They're like, I need a Facebook page. Can you do that? I'm like, sure. They're knocking my door down, and this is the opportunity now for MSPs. And I'll tell you the story that happened this morning at my networking group. We're 35 people sitting around a table, and the electrician was giving a talk. Actually, it was a spotlight presentation, but he chose to talk about a hacking that happened to him last week. There's a phishing scam going around where somebody was posting a job on Indeed, posing as his company. You know what it is? You know what this is?
No, I thought you were going a different direction. Okay, continue.
So they posted a job saying that, and it was, if you basically $25 an hour to sit at the front desk, basically be a reception welcome person at the company. And he got calls for this job. It was actually a legitimate job. It looked like his company. And they figured it out. After a while, they called Indeed and figured out it was fake thing, and they thought nothing of it. They thought they just were hacked or something. It was their account and everything. Somebody hacked into their account. A couple of days later, they started, and I don't know a lot of the details, so I can't fill in too many of the blanks. But what happened was people were starting to go to the bank, cashing real checks from his company to them as if they were an employee, and they'd cash the check. The person who thought they were being hired for a job was depositing this check, and they were wiring it to the bad guys. So it was all, and it was done through their email. And so there was a whole thing that went on. They don't know how they were hacked.
Wow.
It was a hacking, phishing, all sorts of crazy stuff. And he was standing up there, basically ended his 10-minute spotlight where he was supposed to promote his own business, and pointed to the IT guy, said, if it wasn't for this guy, I would be dead. Everybody in here should be hiring this. You have no idea how pervasive this is. He said, as I'm talking to the detectives, the Secret Service is there, and they have stacks of cases they can't even get to. They said this is affecting every small business. And he said small businesses like him, the Secret Service told them, the agent told him, and I don't know if it was FBI or Secret Service, but the agent told him that his business, his size business, small local business, are exactly the sweet spot for these companies, because they know they don't have MSPs, and they know that they're going to fall for these things. So it's an amazing opportunity for MSPs.
It's a huge opportunity. What's interesting, and I know we're getting long, but it's interesting. It's also a threat for MSPs. So Continuum just issued a stat a few months back where only 13% of MSPs have had the security conversation with their clients.
Yeah.
So that's a call to arms for MSPs to have that conversation. But for those MSPs that are prepared to go to market with cybersecurity, and your existing clients are safe and you're safe, so I would put those caveats on there. Talk about another green opportunity is to start to reach out to those older people. Maybe it's those prospects that went with another MSP. Chances are that MSP has not talked to their clients about cybersecurity. That's huge. It's a huge opportunity. It's a huge risk to the small business. And you know how we all as business owners have these million ideas a day. I keep going, man, maybe I should just start an MSSP, because, I don't want to have to deal with printing problems and payroll and, day-to-day there. But I know how to sell cybersecurity, and maybe I just go in and I simply do the cybersecurity, and then I wedge out the incumbent with MSP over time. And if I had an MSP, that would absolutely be my play, because it's a huge green field. I mean, I think it is the biggest opportunity our industry has had.
Yep.
Ever.
Well, cool. I know we were doing this as more of a conversation for us,
but for sure.
I'm probably going to share this because I think this is good content for folks to listen to.
Yeah, for sure.
Since if I do that, make sure you tell them where they can find you. So best place to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn, Jennifer Bleam. I'm also on Facebook. I also have a cybersecurity sales roadmap. Just go to cybersecuritysalesroadmap.com and download that. It's free. We'll get you heading a huge way in the right direction. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jen. I appreciate you getting up super early. I didn't realize you were on when we scheduled this. I didn't realize that you were actually kind of fun time. I don't mind taking up your work time, but I don't want to take up your fun time.
No, I was up early for a couple of things, so no worries at all. I'm glad we could connect.
Awesome. Well, take care. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you. I'm sure I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.